would be if they had arrived at the place of their dreams and possessed everything they could possess in the world. And they came to the conclusion that life in that place, having arrived at the top of the ladder, was still meaningless, still hopeless, still boring, and still empty. And we often admire these people on television. They are our idols. We follow them. We want what they have. We desire it. We feel we would be secure if we are there where they are now. Mel Gibson is on television every day now. Do you know that? Do you know what happened to Mel Gibson? He was arrested because he is basically an alcoholic, and he tries to find happiness at the bottom of a bottle. But Jesus says, yeah, He blesses us with wealth. He gives us the ability to earn wealth. He gives us the gifts and the abilities to be employed, to have money. But then if you start to think for one moment, your life becomes all about securing yourself. Be aware. Be very aware of that. Because the moment you try to secure yourself in your life and you remove your focus of God, you become God in your life. And that's a very dangerous place to be. Amen. God should be your only security. And as you obey Him in living a life to be a blessing starting with your family, with the people whom God leads you to be a blessing, and you live and obey, God will take care of your life. Jesus said, seek ye first the kingdom. In that same chapter, He says, seek ye first the kingdom and all His righteousness, and all things shall be added unto you. Sadly, we have made that baliktad in our lives. We say, seek ye first everything, all things, and then the kingdom and righteousness. Oh. The next verse in that passage talks about our eyesight. The eye is the lamp of the body. If your eyes are good, your whole body will be full of light. But if your eyes are bad, your whole body will be full of what? What? Darkness. You're always staring at the eyeball. If then the light within you is darkness, how great is that darkness? It took me a while to understand what Jesus was trying to say here about the eye is the lamp of the body. If your eyes are good, your whole body will be full of light. But if your eyes are bad, your whole body will be full of darkness. If then the light within you is darkness, how great is that darkness? The Jews had a familiar saying called evil eye. I don't know whether you use it here in the Philippines, called evil eye. You have an evil eye. In Sri Lanka, we use that word called evil eye. When someone is covetous, when someone is jealous, when someone is envious about someone, we say, you have an evil eye. And Jesus was basically talking about bad sight that makes our inner person darkness. Like Star Wars, what is that? The dark side. So he says, if your eyes are bad, if you have an evil eye, and in the King James Version, it says, if your eye is evil, you have what is called bad sight. This feeling of wanting to be covetous, envious when other people are increasing, when someone else is growing, someone else is increasing, someone else is being blessed, we are envious. And we live our lives to be covetous, to have everything what someone else has. A good sight sees that life is not all about him. You see, God can give us that good sight. He gives us spiritual sight. And Jesus gives us spiritual sight to see beyond ourselves. That's what happens when we are born again. Jesus illuminates our life and we start to find out that life is more than me and I. You see, when we have a bad, evil sight, all we can see is me. All we live for is me. All we care about is me. Everything that we do is about me. And if me is having a problem, no one else matters. If you are living in that manner, then you've got a problem with your spiritual vision. Jesus gives us a new reason to live. He says to us in this that there might be something wrong with our sight. He asks us to check our sight, the reason for which we live. Analyze our inner being, our heart, our purposes for why we do the things we do, for why we say the things we do. Why do we do the things that we do? When things get hard, there was this story about these missionaries in Africa. And there was a missionary who went to Africa and he joined up with other missionaries. And it was his first time in Africa. And there were 5 other missionaries there and they lived in the same house. So when he went there, he got to know that they eat only once a day. And so when they got ready to eat their midday meal, everybody was praying. And as they prayed and thanked God for the food, everybody just dived and grabbed food. And this guy was not used to that because he came from a Western country and he never saw people like that just fighting to get as much food for themselves. Missionaries. And so since he was not used to it, he just watched in amazement and there was nothing left for him. So that day he went to sleep hungry. But the next day he got up with a plan. He said, I'm going to be ready this time. So when they came to lunch, he sat down and they were praying and he was watching the food. And the moment they said, Amen, he dived and he grabbed as much as he could for himself. And he noticed that the others were not grabbing today. And he asked them, how come yesterday you were all fighting for the food, but today no one's fighting? And they said, well, yesterday we were 6. Today we are just 4. No hurry, we can eat all you want. They're too short. You see, when their security was at stake, each one was looking out for themselves. When there was no security at stake, they were willing to just share and be nice. Do you get my point? Sometimes we are like that. When our life security at stake, when God, sometimes God puts us in that situation just to show you who you really are. That when you're in trouble, can you still be a giver? Can you still think of other people when you have little? When your pocket is almost empty? When your finances are low, can you still be a giver? Can you still think of other people? Can you still live to be a blessing in your life? Can you still